Okay, we're back looking at some options on how to fix this mount where this gearbox goes. So here's the gearbox. That's the orientation of it. It's going to sit in the same position but on that plate there. So I know in the last video we're looking at what to do with these four holes. This is just an opening for a drain for the gearbox. That is a problem because the four holes are elongated and they're oversized. So if we just bolt the gearbox back down, then the pull of the drive belts on the pulleys and the shafts are going to end up making this move and jiggle. And if it starts to come loose at all, it's going to be a real problem. So there's a few different options that we could maybe look at. So one of the ideas I had thought about is, well, we could put a washer in all four corners. We could do that, put four washers in place, gives us a better hole, gives us a flat surface, but they're not fastened to the base, so we still can have that possibility of that movement back and forth and start to jiggle. We still are going to have the result of those elongated holes there. The washers, yeah, that's not going to prevent that. So I came up with another option, and I think this is going to be probably a little better. So I had 4 1/4-inch plates, and I decided I could use one of them. So I measured the holes, I measured the spacing from the gearbox, and drilled them out in the milling machine because there's a digital readout, so I could move it exactly the right distance from hole to hole, and they're all lined up right dead on. There's no question there. So I drilled those holes, put a little plate. I had to grind out a little notch right here to get past this plate. So I can put that in place. It sits up. Now, I could weld this down. I could weld it on a seam here and on this side easy, and a little bit on this third side. And you really can't access it on the fourth side here. But welding that plate down would just be some extra reinforcement. So what that's going to do, gives a really sturdy base. We've got 4 proper size holes. The bolts can go right up through from the bottom all the way up into the gearbox. 4 rigid holes. They'll still go through the other holes in the bottom, but they won't touch the sides. But you put a washer under the head of the bolt, it'll span the elongated holes a little bit. There, that's going to work. Maybe a little bit of Loctite onto the threads to hold the bolt solid, and maybe a lock washer as well. So I think this is going to work. Raises the pump up a little bit. So I was kind of concerned about that. So let's take this pump. I'm going to set it back into position where it would be. Now on top of that pump, there's another bracket, because there is in the gearbox, there's another hydraulic pump or hydrostatic pump that's going to go right in here. And I put those into position and wanted to look to see if raising this gearbox up by 1/4 inch, is it going to be a problem or is it not? We've got lots of room on this side over here that there's going to be a big pulley. Moving that up, it's not a problem. Pulley on this shaft, it has a belt that's going to run across. Pulley for the grass blower fan. This is on a tensioner. There's lots of movement on that tensioner. 1/4 inch moving this up, that's going to be okay. Tensioner over here, that's going to be okay. There's another tensioner in here for a belt. That tensioner, there's movement. I don't think that moving this gearbox up 1/4 inch is going to cause any problems at all. So what I should do probably is put the pulleys all on, bolt down that gearbox with that new plate, but I won't weld it until I test it. Then I can make sure that there is going to be no issues with fit, and then I'll just have to take the bolts back out and slide the pulleys off And I'll clean them all up and a little bit of lubricant on them so the pulleys will come on and off easy. That won't take too long, but that little bit of test fitting and checking will be well worth it, because if I weld that plate on, that's going to take a little while to grind that back off, and it's in a little bit of tight quarters. I'll move these out of the way. That bracket, there's that gearbox, and now this plate. Now, welding that plate's just going to add, as I said before, there are some security. On 2-3 sides, it's going to hold that plate solid. The bolts up from the bottom, going to need bolts that are a little bit longer now. That's okay, and that's easy enough to get. So I think we'll do this. This has been one of the key problems and issues that this machine has had. So there's no point in just taking a shortcut, because a shortcut is not going to solve the problem. But I think this one will. So I'll go ahead and do a test fit, show you, and I get the belts all on, and give that a try.